So imagine a hyper-efficient traffic cop, right, standing right at the center of the busiest intersection in the world.
Oh, that sounds incredibly stressful.
Yeah, it really is. Cars are just flying in at lightning speed, and this cop, they have to route every single one of them down 8 identical avenues, like instantly.
Because if they fail, the whole system just gridlocks.
Exactly. Traffic stops entirely. And in the world of high-end AV, a single dropped frame or missed signal means, well, it means a crashed boardroom presentation.
Which nobody wants.
Right. And that is exactly what we're exploring in your custom-tailored deep dive today. We are decoding the spec sheet for the Kramer DA3-28-H, which is this premium piece of tech currently priced at, I think, $1,656.
Yeah, 1656.
Right. It takes 2 inputs, an HDMI and a USB-C, and it flawlessly clones that digital traffic out to 8 identical HDMI outputs at a perfect 4K resolution, 60 hertz.
You know, that sheer price tag really forces us to ask why simply splitting a video signal requires such heavy-duty hardware.
Yeah, you'd think a splitter is just a splitter.
Right, but this isn't some cheap plastic dongle you grab at the checkout line. It has to handle a massive payload without dropping a single pixel.
And from what I'm seeing in these specs, the heavy lifting isn't just physical, it's actually the internal software, which is slightly counterintuitive.
How so?
Well, you'd think in a modern setup, screens are just completely plug and play by now, right? But the Kramer uses this intelligent EDID handling and what is it called, a force RGB feature. Why does it need all that?
So we tend to assume every display on a network speaks the exact same language, right? But they really, really don't. Think of EDID as a display's personal resume.
A resume. All right.
Yeah, it tells the source device exactly what resolutions, frame rates, and color spaces it can physically handle.
Oh, I see. So the Kramer is actively reading the resumes of 8 different screens all at the exact same time.
Precisely. And here is where it gets highly technical. A lot of basic displays, they default to a color format called YCBCR.
Which saves bandwidth, right?
Exactly. It uses chroma subsampling. And that's totally fine for video, but for a corporate presentation with like really fine text or intricate spreadsheets,
It just looks terrible.
it looks washed out, yeah, or blurry. So when the Kramer detects this, it uses that force RGB feature you mentioned to actively translate the signal.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it forces the native delivery of the uncompressed RGB color format. That guarantees crisp, pixel-perfect text on every single screen, regardless of what their default settings are.
So it's actively negotiating hardware capabilities on the fly just to guarantee picture quality.
Right.
But it doesn't even stop at hardware. It also has to negotiate legal permissions, which brings us to HDCP. I mean, anyone who works in AV knows the absolute pain of the HDCP handshake.
Helps the clearest.
You plug in a laptop just to show a simple PowerPoint, and the system panics thinking you're trying to pirate a movie or something, and the screen just is black.
Yeah, that dreaded black screen is exactly the problem Kramer is solving here with their selectable HDCP authorization.
Okay, how does that work?
Normally, a splitter blindly enforces the HDCC handshake across every single output, which causes all those frustrating delays. But this feature allows the device to intelligently bypass the encryption handshake entirely.
Entirely?
Yeah, entirely. When you're just showing, personal non-protected clips or business charts.
It essentially tells the system, hey, relax, it's just a spreadsheet, let it through.
Exactly. But if someone does try to play DRM-protected content, it still honors the block.
Wow. So it's an active gatekeeper for both hardware specs and legal rights. Which, well, it makes me realize something.
What's that?
If this device is constantly reading resumes, forcing color translations, and managing encryption handshakes, it's not really a cable splitter at all.
No, not really.
It's a highly intelligent computer acting as the brain of an AV network, meaning, it's an endpoint. It's actually a massive security vulnerability.
It absolutely is. And
Right.
that is exactly why we see this hardware actively equalizing and reclocking the data. I mean, we aren't just talking about a trickle of information here.
Yeah. We're talking about a fire hose, right?
Yeah, an 18 gigabit per second fire hose of raw, uncompressed visual data. Reclocking means the device is actively regenerating the digital timing of that signal.
To prevent degradation over long cable runs.
You got it.
Dealing with an 18 gigabit fire hose while simultaneously authenticating it in real time, I mean, that requires serious processing power.
Huge amounts.
Which completely explains the cybersecurity specs.
Yeah.
It has 802.1x LAN authentication and HTTPS Web UI, and get this OWASP PEN penetration protection certification.
Which is wild for a video splitter. But consider how a modern corporate environment actually operates. Hackers aren't necessarily trying to breach the main firewall anymore.
Right, they look for weak peripheral endpoints.
Exactly. If an AV distribution amplifier passing huge amounts of data isn't encrypted and authenticated on the IT network, it just becomes an invisible backdoor.
So a bad actor could potentially use, like, an unsecured HDMI port in a random conference room to pivot directly into the corporate LAN.
Yes, it absolutely must be fortified to defend the network perimeter.
Man, so decoding the spec sheet completely changes the perspective. The Kramer DA3-28-H isn't a splitter. It's a secure, actively translating AV command center that reclocks and manages a massive data fire hose.
Just to keep boardroom presentations flawless and, networks locked down.
Right.
Which I think leaves you with an unsettling but really vital question to consider today.
Ooh, what's that?
If a seemingly simple video splitter requires OS pen penetration protection and bank-level authentication just to exist safely on a corporate network,
Yeah.
what other simple plugged-in devices in your own home or office are secretly massive security vulnerabilities just hiding in plain sight?